Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey, this is Bobby Gustafson of Taint, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to have Mr. Bobby Gustafson, guitarist of Satan's Taint, the legendary guitarist widely known as the godfather of thrash, best known for his place in the classic thrash band Overkill. He was also a featured player and performer with Sluts from Hell, Skrew Spudmonsters, Biohazard, and Italy's Satanika. I knew that word last time. Today I just had a brain fart. Satan's Taint's debut Axe to the Head of My Enemies was released independently in 2017, and Satan's Taint is set to release their new album Destruction Ritual, which will be released August 2nd via the mighty Megaforce Records. And that's cool. That's cool to see somebody someone else out on Megaforce Records. So, Bobby, how's it going, and welcome to the show.
Good, man. How you doing, Josh?
Doing awesome. Glad to have you on here, man.
Oh, yeah. My pleasure.
So let's jump right into this. How's it been working with For the Win Media and Jamie?
She's been great. We're like in our second month of working together, and she just completely, she helped this album just explode. It's not even out yet, and there's just such a great buzz on it. And I'm just watching all the stuff that she's done and set up. It's just amazing. I lucked out by not having actually an old friend of mine from Megaforce do the PR work. She recommended Jamie, and I think it was the perfect choice. I'm so glad that we wound up going with her.
Jamie kills it. That's all I got to say. She absolutely kills it, and she works her ass off for sure.
I know. I didn't realize how much, they did. You just assume that all that work is done by the label, and it's really not. It's the PR person setting all this stuff up, great interviews and endorsements and all that stuff. It's been going great.
Okay, so this is a quote I'm going to read. I am very excited to be working with Bobby again after all these years, says Megaforce's Missy Colazzo. His early work has been the benchmark for all thrash artists to follow. Seeing a compliment like that, man, what's that make you think and feel after all these years seeing that?
It's flattering. It's we've known each other for a long time. She worked at a radio station in West Orange, New Jersey, and that's where we first met her. She did an interview with Overkill. We stayed friends. She wound up working at Megaforce, and now she owns Megaforce. So to just have the relationship with her that long, and she's seen everything that I had gone through for all these years, to throw something else like that out there is just like, it's so flattering. I'm beyond words.
Bobby, what's impressed or excited you the most about making Destruction Ritual, if anything? What's caught your eye about it the most? What sticks out for you, man? I
just think that it had to be just my determination to get this done in a short time, because we kind of used a lot of the songs up on the first album. I had some laying around type songs, and then wrote a couple of new ones, but I only needed to have a few, like 5, and put it out. So then once that was out, we saw how well that sold, and I'm like, well, we got to write stuff. I don't have anything together, so I just really, any spare moment I had, I took a guitar with me in my work truck, a little mini guitar, and I was working on stuff during my lunch hour, putting riffs together, listening to the tapes from the, the riffs I had put down, and working on solos with this, crammed in the front with this tiny little flying V, trying to write stuff. And I just knocked them out. And I think just having those hours of putting it all together between that, the lyrics, and then going to the power station down here in Florida, there's a great studio. And, we didn't do the whole record at home type thing this time around. We went actually into the studio and set up and knocked it out. I mean, Jim did all his drums in 2 days. I did all my rhythm guitar tracks, like 48 tracks or so of rhythm, like in 2 days. And we were just like a machine. We did a little pre-production, and we just knocked it out. And I'm just totally surprised how really being determined to get that done, how it came out.
And folks, that's dedication when you take on your lunch break your little mini guitar and you're jamming out in your work truck.
Yeah. It's not too much room up there. And I probably should have got a better shape than a flying V. So it was kind of difficult to sit in the front of the truck and play. But yeah, I worked stuff out and just were completely prepared. And this is the first album I've ever done, 12 songs. It's 11 songs with lyrics and one instrumental.
What'd you have for lunch? That's a Black Sabbath, motherfucker. What'd you have?
Half a sandwich and some Sabbath.
Yeah, there you go.
Little Sabbath on the side.
Now, you took on the guitar and bass duties during the recording of the album. Do you have anyone in mind to fill out these roles as a bassist or rhythm guitar when you take it out on the road? Or what's going on with all this?
Yeah, we have a friend of ours, a guy Rob, who plays with us. He plays in a couple other bands with Jim, and he's in the video. I just really wanted to get it done, and I had all the parts and riffs and stuff in my head. So rather than trying to convey things to everybody else, I said, look, I can lock up, because I played bass on the first CD too. I says I can lock up with myself really well. And I know what all the lines are and the riffs and all the little parts and pieces I wanted to put. I said, instead of sending the music out to somebody and having to wait for them to learn it, and then either come in to record or record on their own and send it back, I said it would just take too much time. So let me do it. So I just ran in there and do it. I already talked to Rob, and I told him, I said, look, you want to come out on the road with us if we get some shows? You're welcome to come out. And he's like, great. So this way, there's no set band. So if anyone's got to either leave or record with us but not be able to go out on the road, the Taint machine just keeps going. There'll always be somebody I can ask just to come in and fill it. I mean, very few bands have the same members these days anyway.
Very true.
So why stress out over trying to find the perfect lineup? Because I've spent time with other projects like looking for the right guys, and you try someone and they don't fit, or they fit and then they leave, and it's like, why bother? I said, I'm just going to do this all myself and just have people come out.
So I want to back up here just a little bit and talk about the writing of the album here. How long did it take you to put together a set of songs that was going to eventually make this album, Bobby?
Not very long. I would say within a couple of months, I had it together. I may have started earlier last year, say January or so, and then we were already getting ready to go into pre-production about mid-August, almost September of last year. So, just the actual sitting down and getting everything done was probably between, January and August. I'd get a song done. I'd go down to the rehearsal spot with Jim. I'd show him the first half. Then I'd show him the second half, and then we would record it through. And we did, did one song a week that day. And then, next week we do another one, and then just went through that whole process until we had, the ones that we thought were going to be the ones that went on there. I don't write too much extra stuff. I have tons and tons of riffs, but I like to see which ones kind of fit together with each other. And then sometimes I'll put pieces together and get a song, or I'll just be inspired at the moment and finish it with something off the top of my head. Was it hard to choose between the current set of songs which would be the first single or video you wanted to release or push first, or was it hands down Desecration? I didn't even think about Desecration at all. I was thinking of another song which we might try and do second, but Jim had pointed out, he goes, those lyrics are just amazing. So he goes, they would really work well as a video. And I said, I'm like, you sure? I mean, because I usually, I like to put out the best song first because that's the indication where, most bands are going to put their best stuff out first because, you want them to get into it and then check out the second video or whatever else. But I'm like, yeah, I guess it would be a good video, so let's go with that first. I said, they're all kind of equally as good because when we were recording, we couldn't pick anything out. And we had even asked the guys in the studio, and they're like, we can't even pick a favorite. And I'm like, well, that's good. I said, I hate to have an album where there was one or two songs that everybody said were definitely the song, because then, then you've got a bunch of filler. So to have all these songs and no one's able to pick what's what, I said that's a pretty good indication.
Any songs standing out more to you than any right now on the album? I know it must change every time you listen to it or when you're working on it. I know these are close to you, Bobby, but do you have any that stand out for you possibly?
Yeah, I mean, obviously each one is a favorite for whatever reason. I always try and at least do something in each song that I haven't done before. I'd say probably my two favorites is what I would try and like to do is, the video next would be Thorn in My Side. I think, and that's just a straight go for the throat, thrash song, but, not super speedy, but just like super heavy, some good chugging and stuff. And then my second choice would probably be like Skull Crusher 2. I did a continuation of my other Skull Crusher on the Overkill album back in '89. So here we are, like 30 years later, I'm doing part 2. It's a completely different song, but it's just got the same vibe, and it's just all my vision of the lyrics and stuff, and that kind of sticks out too. Very tuned down, very deep, which was early on, before a lot of the bands were doing that, either tuning down or using the 7-string. Skull Crusher was odd for the time, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
89 to tuned down like that.
I agree with that. To me, I honestly think that they're bands from the 80s that set the standard for bands to achieve, like Overkill and like Testament for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. I just love it.
I mean, we were the bands that started out. Some of us got out a little bit quicker than some of the other bands, but we basically started out all at the same time. And I mean, it was really Metallica and Slayer first. They kind of set the path like Zeppelin and Sabbath did, in their time period. I mean, those were the two bands. You had the heavy and then you had the dark, satanic, speed of those two bands. And that was basically, the beginning of it. And everyone kind of like found their own little niche and, took it their own way.
How crucial was it to keep this album true to your thrash roots? Because I know some people like to add and change, but how crucial was it to stay true to your own thrash roots, man?
I think it's very crucial because, I kind of made that mistake a few years back. After Overkill, I tried to do a band called Eye for an Eye, which was a little bit different. It wasn't thrashy. I purposely went more with the groove and went more a little simpler because everyone was thrash at the time. It was still like 1990. So I said, well, let me stick out and do something different. But it didn't catch on. I mean, some parts here and there are good, but it just wasn't right. It wasn't me, and it's not what people expected. So like with this, I kind of basically, it's a little bit of the old, with some touches of some new, a little bit more modern, metal riffs or whatever that are in there just to stay current. I don't want to sound like, dad metal or nothing like that, but
right.
The thrash.
Yeah.
The thrash stuff is what got me the name. So, there's always going to be pieces and parts of songs that are just out and out thrash. It's just my favorite. It's my favorite thing to hear. It's my favorite thing to play.
Are we going to see more albums sooner than later for this current set that you're doing right now for Satan's Taint?
Yeah, I hopefully want to keep it going. I want to put stuff out, and like the first album, if no one picks up on it, I can always still put it out myself. But I'm going to do it in my time. If I feel that the songs are strong enough and the songs are ready, then I'm good to go. But I don't want to be rushed because we kind of got rushed, I thought, the last two albums with Overkill. It's like, this album's dead already. You got to write another one. It's like, wait a minute, it just came out 6 months ago. How could it be dead?
Yeah.
Already. Even back then, I'm like, we only toured like twice. So, shouldn't we do a little more before we start writing again? And, I just want to write songs at my pace, and when I'm done, I'm done. It could be I could have it done and another one is out next year, or it could be a year and a half. But I'm not out on the road, so none of my time is really getting taken up by being out on the road and not being able to write. So I'm continuously writing. I write something like every day. I'll put something on tape. And
you're right, man. It seems like nowadays folks are like, well, this album just came out 4 months later. What do you have now? I just feel like they're spoiled, and I'm not knocking any fans or anything like that. I'm just saying that some are just spoiled that, okay, now we need something else because they're used to getting EPs and things like that. And I'm just like, enjoy the fucking album. Enjoy what you have until something else comes out, because some bands, that's what they want to do. They want to put EPs out, but just fucking enjoy whatever they put out until they come out with something else.
Yeah, I think it's a little too fast. A lot of these bands, a lot of them, they're not making money from sales, and they're making money at live shows and selling T-shirts. So they just put anything together to be out again in a year. It doesn't matter. They'll just, it's heavy. It's in the same vein as what they've always done, and they're just boom back out on the road again.
Right.
But I don't want to do that way. I want to take my time with it, and just make them as best as they can be. I mean, a lot of the people now, everything is so instantaneous with the internet and everything else that, albums kind of do burn out a little quicker because you're just getting bombarded before the album and everything else. I mean, back in the day, you had, the only advertising was magazines.
Exactly.
I mean, before the internet, you had to plan on, 3 months before buying an ad in a magazine, so it kind of came out when the album did. And then you would actually have to go out on tour and wait for people from the magazines to take pictures to actually get into the magazines, which is a couple of months after that. So a lot of people didn't, you didn't find out about stuff until things had been out for a couple months, and it was just a little bit slower of a pace. So, I mean, 6 months in is when, an album sort of just starts to take off, as opposed to now it's like, you've got a month window after it's out, and and to see what sort of legs it's got, see if it's going to stand a little bit longer than that, or people are just already bored with it. And I think people get bored quick, so I'm not in any rush to get out on the road and sell T-shirts. That's not why I write.
Man, you hit the nail on the head right there, because people, they miss the mystique of the way it was back in the days of having to wait to see what your band that you like looks like, or see what they're up to next. I mean, nowadays it's like, well, I'm having dinner. This is what I had for dinner. I mean, I don't care. I don't care where you take a shit at. I just want to know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you had to win them over on the road because they didn't see you until, I guess, MTV came around and started making the videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But you had to go out and you had to kick their ass at a live show and win them over. Yep. And that's how they saw you. But now it's like, like you said, here, I'm picking my nose. Oh, let me put it up on Instagram. It's like, it's just a little bit too much exposure too quick. But I want to make sure that music is good, so it's got legs to stand on.
I saw an interview the other day where an interviewer solely based their questions on a artist's Instagram photos and stuff like that. And I was just...
Oh, yeah.
I was in shock because I'm sitting here busting my ass to get interviews, and then she got this huge interview, and I'm going, not even one question was about the album. Nothing whatsoever. I
know. Actually, the other PR person asked me, well, what are your numbers? What I want to know is, like, how many people you got on YouTube, how many followers you got on Instagram. I mean, and basically that takes their job, because that's what they used to try and do, is get you the press and get your face out there. But now it's easier on them. They don't have to do squat. Like,
Yep.
Jamie's doing her stuff, and I'm doing my own on the side. I've got my followers, my friends on Facebook, and I'm keeping them aware of what's coming up and going on too.
Thank God there's old school PR people like Jamie out there who still care and wants to get people out to the PR people regardless. So that's still awesome.
Yeah, she's got the reach. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't know how to contact me, so she's got all the contacts basically set up already from previous bands and stuff like that. So I'm reaching people. I would never be probably talking to you if it wasn't for her.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
This album was recorded at Power Station Studios. Who actually recorded this album, or did you guys self-produce it?
Yeah, we kind of did everything together. We worked with the studio. Rob Roy has the studio in Pompano, Florida, and he's got an engineer, Paul Cronk. And they worked together. We worked a little bit more with Paul. I mean, we had a big old style Neve board, with the faders and the whole thing. But, he definitely would, record with the Pro Tools. It's a good backup as you're recording. And, we kind of got our sounds and set up. I mean, they were so pro. I mean, I couldn't believe that we had drum tones in a half hour. That's like unheard of. I mean, people can spend a week on just drum sounds, just trying to get them right, get exactly what they want, blah, blah, blah. I mean, Jim went in, he's got his gears, good studio setup for his drums. He set them up, he played on them, and within a half hour, we had like amazing workable sounds. And they know their studio, they got the shit together. I'll probably go back to do the next one. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive than just recording at your house, but you can hear the difference between our first CD and this new one.
Yeah, and that's their name going out there, man. They should care about what they're putting out there because, like I said, that's their name as well, just like it's your name going out there as well.
Oh yeah, I mean they've got to keep their business going too. I mean, and they do a wide variety of stuff. I mean, just all different types of music have gone through there. But they're younger guys and they kind of came from the same place I did, and they loved it. They're like they were the ones that were saying, I can't pick a song that's our favorite.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
In your own opinion, Bobby, what do you hope everyone takes away from this single Desecration, or message you hope they hear while listening to it, or just any of Satan's Taint's music in general, or just any bands you've been involved in?
Well, I mean, they'll definitely recognize, the playing and the sound, because I've heard that from people, that they recognize me instantly from the sound and the riffs and just the style, which I think is great. I think this song itself is a good indication of what the rest of the album is like. There's a lot of varying songs. I mean, tempos and stuff like that, they're all a little different and individual, but they all have like a common thread. And this song just seemed to be one that would be a perfect example. If you do like this, then you're 99% gonna like the rest of the album.
I know you've been around for a long time, and this is nothing new to you. But do you still see yourself musically growing, or has it just been more of a personal growth for everyone involved in Satan's Taint?
I think you're always growing. I mean, I listen to different things. I try and let everything influence me. I mean, obviously metal is my favorite type of music, but I'll listen to different things. I was really interested in the violin. I've always liked the violin, and I couldn't find one in time to get for the album. And I wound up stumbling across on Instagram Taggle harp, which is like an old 3 or 4 string, kind of like a stand-up cigar box type of medieval instrument, with a bow. And I would just watch people play, and I'm like, oh man, those are the sounds that I kind of dig. So I wound up getting one, and I used it on the instrumental. So I'm always, willing to do different things. The other guitar player, Adam, I guess he plays a 7-string. I never even picked up a 7-string guitar before. I just wasn't interested. I told him, I got enough problems with 6 strings. I don't need 7. So he's like, no. He's like, it's the same thing. He goes, I'll show you. I said, all right. So I may even throw a 7-string on there, just to have something that's different. Different sounds. The instrumental is very different. I mean, played a little bit of like war drums on it. We had an old antique, like Civil War age friggin' drum that was at the studio, and he had like an antique xylophone.
Nice.
And I hit a key on that matched the song at one point, and I actually instead of buying like maracas or something, I had walnut shells, and I put walnut shells together on a string, and I used them in part of the song as well. So just different sounds and textures, and just anything that's heavy, I'll throw it in there. I'll just hopefully keep growing and doing different things. You can't play thrash exactly the same forever because everyone's done it already. You got to do a little something.
See, folks, anything out there you can make an instrument. There you go, walnuts. There you
go. Exactly.
What does Satan's Taint bring to the table for music that's not out there as of right now, if anything? I mean, I know, no one's reinventing the wheel, but what does this band bring to the table possibly?
I mean, I really can only rely on myself. I mean, that's all I can bring. The songs that I write, the style that I like, that I have, that, you know, people have asked me for years to put music out again. They miss the old school, they miss the thrash. And, you know, I said, okay, well, I'll write songs again and we'll see where it goes. I mean, that's the hard part, is so much, even when it comes to the band's name, so much stuff has been done and taken. It's hard to be original. I mean, there's a lot of new bands that are out now, and now bands that are 30-year-old are coming back out. So, I mean, there's a lot of competition out there. Really hard to be original and not do something that's kind of goofy, you know?
When you start to work on an album or come into the recording studio, do you like to do anything differently during that writing and recording process? I know that's two different things. To maybe help keep your mind fresh and open, to not get bored or not get stale with it. Do you do anything that helps you out possibly?
No, I get excited when it's studio time. That's my favorite time. Even in Overkill, the other guys hated the studio, and I loved it. I sat there all day.
He's eating it up.
I mean, it was a kid in a candy store. All these knobs can do something, and you can press a button here and a button there, and you're just experimenting with sounds, and you're making stuff heavier, and I loved it. I don't need to be coaxed into going into the studio at all. That's my favorite thing.
2:00 in the morning. Bobby, let's go to the studio. Let's go.
I go.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Any time of the day.
That is awesome. What can fans expect at a show from Satan's Taint, who have not got to see you guys live as of yet, or when you're going to take this on the road? What are they going to get?
Just an in-your-face metal, thrash metal, old school, good time show. That's it. You know, just going to make it worth your hard money that you pay to come see us.
So now we're living in this digital era that's so crazy right now, with music getting out quicker. Plus now we got social media to reach out to more people to hear of Satan's Taint. Do you like this that ran to get out to more people with social media, Bobby?
I was kind of a little bit against it in the beginning, but now I'm totally for it, because you can let people know exactly what's going on from yourself. You know, you have a one-on-one communication with people. If something's coming up or something happens and there's a question about it or whatever, you can answer it. And there's no middleman. And I kind of like that. I kind of like, you know, something's coming up. Oh, well, you know, we gotta wait till we can get it in a magazine, you know, 2 months from now. It's like, nah, that's terrible. You know, it's a little instant, but like you said, you know, things burn out a little faster too, having all that communication and stuff thrown in your face. I mean, I recently joined Twitter, and I mean, every other post is a band posting about themselves and what they're doing and where they're going. It's like, how do you pick and choose anyone anymore? Mm-hmm. There's so many bands that, you know, I've never even heard of before, and you know, they're on their 4th album, and it's like, who are these guys?
That's another good thing you brought up just there. These bands nowadays, I'm just going to say it right now, and again, I'm not knocking anybody, but you know this just as well as I do. Being around for so long, you know this just as well. Bands these days are very lucky to have 2 albums and survive after that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much out there. I mean, you know, from the kids down the block are making an album, all the way to bands from 30 years ago are coming back. So, I mean, there's like a lot of competition. So at least having a name is going to be a big help, because it'll stand out, and it also helps that, you know, the old band is still out there. So they're still relevant, and I guess forever tied to that band just from playing with them. But it gives you at least a little bit of a one-up on a lot of these bands, these younger bands. It's got to be really, really hard for them to get noticed. I may put one thing out and then never be heard from again.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff that's out there. It's so oversaturated. You know, you have to just dive through and just bite the bullet and go through it and see what you find. And there's a lot of great stuff out there. There still is.
I know. I mean, it used to be a big deal to get signed to a label, because you had to work at it. You had to go out and play for a couple of years. You had to gather a following at shows before they would even consider coming out to see you play, and then get on the label. And yeah, that was a big deal. But now it's like, hey, you can make your CDs at home.
Yeah, you don't
anyone can do it.
You don't hear the old school stories of like, we was at a bar playing, and somebody from Megaforce Records was sitting out in the audience listening to us, and we had no clue they were there. You know what I mean? You don't hear that anymore. But
yeah, those days are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, even what I missed out on was the festivals.
Yeah.
A lot of these bands, they're getting to play in front of, 50, 70,000 people if they're lucky enough to get on one of these festivals. I mean, that's more people than we had played in a whole 6 weeks of touring.
Well, don't give up. You got Satan's Taint, man. Fuck, keep piling on that shit. Keep on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always put out music, and I said that when I first started. I said as long as I'm breaking even and people still want to hear me playing and they're still buying the music enough for me to record again the next time, I said I'll keep doing it. It's not it was really dire for me to get it in the early days to get real big, because that's all I wanted to do was get as big as we possibly can. But now at my age, I'm just enjoying writing songs, right. And if we make it to somewhere big, that's great. But if we don't, I'm still going to be writing the songs. As long as somebody wants to hear them, I'll just keep making them.
What made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you that said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there?
I would probably say it was a combination of like Black Sabbath. My brother had the Black Sabbath, the Paranoid album. And the first time I heard that kind of threw me over the edge. But then, I saw like the whole theatrics with Kiss and Ace Frehley and the whole stage show and the whole thing. It was just like, whoa, that's what I want to do. And, my dad used to have a guitar under his bed, and I used to kind of steal it and play with it when I was real little. I always had it in my hands. I try to imagine myself, being a musician someday, and I just worked at it.
Is there a country that stands out or shocks you that Satan's Taint gets support from, or your music right now is getting played in that area, possibly, if you've seen any reports come in? I
think this past week I posted something. We sold one to Finland, which I've never sold, I don't think, a CD on the first album to Finland before, and Czech Republic. Wow. I think were two that I never had. I mean, we've done the Japans and the Australias and the New Zealands and everywhere around Europe, but I think Finland might be like the farthest that I had sent one, and I thought that was amazing. I don't know. I still get childlike when it comes to selling the CDs or the shirts. I mean, I bother the hell out of my drummer. I'm like, oh, we sold another CD, and I called him up, and I'm like, I'm excited about like each one. I was like, yeah, this one's going to the Czech Republic. I'm like, we never had one to go there before. So it's still exciting to me. I mean, and it's good to be that way.
Yeah, and it should, regardless of how old you are and how long you've been in this field.
Yeah.
It should be, everything you do should be, like you said earlier, like a kid in a candy store, regardless. Yep. If I ever got to meet you and shake your hand, I'd be in awe, man, just because I absolutely love music, and I love what you guys do, because you're doing something that I wish I could do, but I can't,
Yeah. I mean, it was, like I said, it was a bit of a big deal back in the day. It was very hard for anyone to get signed. There's a lot easier now, but still, I mean, some people, they practice and practice and practice, and they just don't get good enough on a guitar or the drums to make it in a band. So it's a bit of a blessing when you dedicate yourself and you get good enough and get good enough to record something, and then you're fine. You don't have to. We all don't have to be Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah.
Or Eddie Van Halen. You just good enough to make some songs.
I know you've done this for a long time. Is there a show or a moment that sticks out for you over the years, possibly, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I remember. I mean, someone just sent me a review today of a show we did at the Astoria in London, and that was like, I think if not our best show, like one of our top 3 shows, and like typical London press was like, oh, it was too perfect. So that one always like stuck out of my head. We wound up doing Japan on the Years of Decay album, which was a big thing for me. And back in the day, early on, when we opened up for Halloween, we were like the first American thrash band to play in Poland. The wall was still up, and we played an arena in Katowice, Poland. And, just never forgot to drive in there and just having it look like it was like still war-torn area, and everything was just gray and dismal. Jeez. And that one always just like stuck in my memory as well.
That I'm sure that when those fans got the chance to come and see you guys live, that was actually probably the time they actually got to get away and just let go and release themselves.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was so poor in that country that they advertised the show 6 months in advance so people could save up enough money to go to the show. And then 2 weeks before the show is when they made the announcement of who was actually playing. So for that whole time, people just knew there was going to be a big Metal Hammer metal show at the arena, and they're saving money and buying tickets before they even know who it was. They want to be in Running Wild, Halloween, and us, and I think like one or two local bands. But that was just like it was just a whole different world to see for like a 22-year-old kid. You know, guys coming on the bus with machine guns, checking our face up against our passports. You know, having dogs go around the bus and open up the bottom to make sure we weren't trying to sneak anybody in or out of the country. It was, you know, it was a whole different world.
Jeez. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it was kind of scary.
Damn. Folks, Satan's Taint is set to release their new album, Destruction Ritual, which will be released August 2nd via Megaforce Records. Bobby, I, as a fan of your music for a very long time, man, thank you for what you have done and keep on doing what you're doing. How can folks stay in touch with you, buy this album, merchandise, tour dates when you take this on the road? How can you do that, good sir?
Yeah, I'm pretty much all over Facebook mainly. You can find me, you know, just type in my name on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under Satan's Taint. We have some T-shirts and the first CD for sale if anyone's interested at satanstaintmusic.com. We have some goodies up there. We just got a new shirt design put up there. And, you know, just hit me up on Facebook. Anyone send a message and just say hi.
And before I let you go, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Of course I will.
Just
Hey, this is Bobby Gustafson of Satan's Taint, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out, check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link, YouTube link, and soon, hopefully, our Twitch link. Please get out and subscribe and like our YouTube page because all of our stuff is on YouTube as of right now, plus our podcast link as well. So never miss an interview. Go check it out. Go get it now. Also, pick up Satan's Taint's new album, Destruction Ritual, released August 2nd via Megaforce Records. You will not be disappointed. Bobby's still putting out some great stuff, folks. So, Bobby, my friend, I wish you the best of luck, and you're always welcome back on here.
Thanks, Sean. Give me a buzz anytime. I'll be glad to come on.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.